don't know me yet, my name is Pastor Wesley Isner. I am the pastor here at Spirit Alive Lutheran Church. And I just want to say welcome, and I'm going to open us with a little bit of prayer. So will you please assume a prayerful position with me? Mother and God, we give you thanks for time to draw together as a community. We come before you as our whole selves, all of our passions, all of our dreams. Send your Spirit upon us this night. Stir up in our hearts a longing for justice. Teach us to care for our neighbor, the stranger, the orphan, the widow. Teach us to care for creation for the sake of all who call this place home. Teach us to care for the world and for each other so that we may know peace. May we, in all of our varied gifts and lives, be united this day in the work of justice, in the work of care, in the work of love. We pray all of this in the name of your great love. Amen. Amen.
Good evening. I'm Reverend Kathleen Gloff, and I'm a member of the organization Congregations United to Serve Humanity, or CUSH, and I'm part of the board of directors. I've been involved with CUSH now for more than a decade. I am the old lady on the board. During that past decade, I've stood and prayed with other Kenosha clergy who've participated in the Religious Leaders Caucus of CUSH while our city was in turmoil during the riots that happened after Jacob Blake was shot, and while Kyle Rittenhouse was on trial, and while neighborhoods were being littered with anti-Semitic propaganda later. I've marched with members of CUSH as we advocated for shelter for those who do not have a roof over their heads in December. I've met with the last 3 mayors of Kenosha, Mayor Bosman, Mayor Antaramian, and current Mayor David Bogdala, advocating for the needs of Kenosha's most vulnerable citizens. This is a mere handful of things that have happened as a result of the advocacy of CUSH here in Kenosha in the last decade. From banned book drives to budget advocacy at the state capitol to interfaith dinners that open conversations about race and religion, we've done our best to address the inequities of our congregations and our community. We're here tonight asking you to continue to work with us if you are a cherished supporter and advocate who's been with us years in the past. We're here tonight asking you to begin your participation in support of CUSH if you are a first-timer and this is all new to you. Who is CUSH? We are an interfaith community organizing network. We are under the umbrella of a statewide interfaith community organizing network known as Wisdom, Wisconsin. Wisdom is under the umbrella of a nationwide community organizing network known as Gamaliel. Having given you a visual flow chart, I would like to give you a less technical, more personal understanding of who we are as congregations united to serve humanity. Spending a few moments to think about each of those words. We are congregations. Our current congregations are Beth Hillel Temple, Bradford Community Church Unitarian Universalist, First United Methodist Church, Grace Evangelical Church of America, Emmanuel United Methodist Church, Lord of Life Evangelical Church of America, St. Mary's Evangelical Church of America, Summers United Church of Christ, the congregation that I serve, and the 2 congregations that share this building, Spirit Alive Evangelical Lutheran Church of America and Wesley United Methodist Church. Our congregations function most effectively when they have core teams of committed members who communicate between their congregations and the organization as whole. We are interfaith, believing that we can be more grounded in our own faith in open dialogue with those of other faiths. We also know that there are people who are not an active part of any congregation who who share our values and desire to work with us on our issues. We are forming a new core team at this time called People of CUSH, a place for those who are not members of one of the congregations that I've named, but seek to be active in our work nonetheless. We are united in the work that we do, congregations united. As our mission statement declares, we are an interfaith coalition living our faith and values in pursuit of justice through advocacy, education, and empowerment. We're united by a vision of justice, by the tenacity of continuing to act when it is tempting to just complain and cower instead. We are united by our willingness to intertwine our personal faith with others, that each of us may add to a unifying voice that's needed now more than ever before. We are united. We serve. There are some who get the S of CUSH confused from time to time. I've heard people ask, does CUSH stand for Congregations United to Save Humanity? The answer to that question is no. We're not here to save others. We're here to serve others. We're not here to tell others what they need. We will advocate for others until they get their own place at the table, and then we will stand in solidarity with them. It is humanity that we seek to serve. For those of us in Jewish and Christian faith traditions, we turn our attention back to the first story of our scripture, the story of creation as told in the Torah and the Bible. That story makes the claim that human beings are created in the image of God. The Latin title for that understanding is Imago Dei. We believe that everyone, regardless of the categories we tend to put them in, is created in the image of the divine. I'm grateful to my own conference minister, Franz Riegert, for pointing out to me that the word Dei in Imago Dei is spelled D-E-I. Contrary to the current understanding of some, I understand and invite you to understand that DEI is not a liberal buzzword, but is instead the very way we find the spark of the divine in ourselves, in each other, and in our world. That's my understanding of this time, at this time, of who we are and of what we are about. But tonight, we invite you to begin to form or to continue to form your own understanding of CUSH and how you can be an active part of CUSH. We're going to hear about 4 areas of concern that CUSH has been working on in recent years. These areas are mental health advocacy, and I'm saying them in the incorrect order of how they will occur, but you will get them as you get them. LGBTQIA+ advocacy, environmental justice, and advocacy for immigrants. We will be hearing about each in a few moments. But for now, I wish to introduce Grant Pitts, who was the administrative associate of CUSH, but as of the 1st of this month, has been hired for the role of CUSH organizer. I will let Grant introduce himself further.
Let's all give Pastor Kathy a round of applause. Thank you very much, Pastor Kathy. How's everybody doing tonight? Good, good. Get a little energy. I like that. Thank you to all of you as well who are gathered here today to learn more about CUSH, to teach us what is important to you, and to take action by becoming involved in one of our CUSH task forces. I'm extremely excited to be here with you all this evening, and it is an honor to have the opportunity to lead such a storied community organization. As a Kenosha native, it makes me proud to be a leader in an organization such as this, which has had such an impact for so many years here in Kenosha. Although I've just started as the CUSH organizer this June, I've been involved with this organization for some time now. I would say that I came to CUSH during my time as a student, but in all reality, CUSH came to me. When I was a sophomore at the University of Wisconsin-Parkside, I was contacted by the previous CUSH organizer, who reached out to me to inquire about my work as the student leader of the university's institutional Get Out the Vote program. After a meeting with the then organizer, CUSH helped elevate our programming by bringing a voter simulation designed to show Parkside students, some of whom had never voted, exactly what to expect when headed to the polls, from the greeters table to the election inspector. I was later contacted by CUSH again in that same role to assist with their voting in jails effort last year, where I used my experience in voter education and elections administration to help CUSH find out how we can provide ballot access to the many eligible voters confined in Kenosha County Detention Center, and to educate Kenosha residents about this lingering issue through a community forum event. Starting last summer, I joined CUSH officially as an administrative assistant, and I have had the privilege of helping CUSH organize in this position part-time for just under a year now. My appointment to this role feels like a full circle moment, having gone from a community affiliate to a full-time organizer. It also feels like something that I have been preparing for some time now, having spent nearly half the past decade earning a degree in sociology at the University of Wisconsin-Parkside, with certifications in community-based learning and social justice, which earned me the honor of top graduate this spring of 2025. Thank you. I am excited to bring this experience to CUSH and its community of member congregations and affiliate organizations. Although I am somewhat new to the interfaith community, I have found it to be an invigorating space. I have been amazed and inspired by the passion and commitment to social justice that I have observed among people in our Kenosha area congregations, and I intend to do all that is in my power to support and uplift our activists and advocates. I do not belong to any church, and I am here in this space solely in service of CUSH, its member congregations, and their congregants. Nonetheless, I believe that it is not by accident that I have arrived in an interfaith space such as this. Indeed, my own interest in social justice can be traced back to Buddhist writings and Hindu philosophy that I was exposed to as a young man and in my undergraduate education. It was these teachings that made me aware of the rich spiritual wealth that exists in each of us internally and between us as a community and as a people. A wealth which imbues us with an insight and understanding that points squarely towards justice, equality, and liberation, guiding us and orienting us as surely as a compass. That is, of course, why we are all here tonight. The compass in each of our hearts has brought us together, out of our common concern for one another and for our community, so that we may work together towards justice. CUSH is a community organization, an interfaith coalition founded in living our faith and values. We believe we have a responsibility to seek the common good through advocacy and action by building relationships among our members so that we may act together for social justice. It is because of this that today we invite you to share your thoughts with us and enter into a dialogue. CUSH relies on your passion and your engagement to accomplish our work. As such, we will not be telling you what CUSH is going to do today. Instead, we will be telling you what our members are most passionate about, how they would like to address the issues that are most important to them, and we invite you all to tell us what you are most passionate about and how you would like to address it. We hope that by the conclusion of this event, you'll be inspired to join us in our work through one or more of our task forces. The format of this event is as follows. We will treat you to a series of brief presentations from CUSH members and leadership on the issues they are most passionate about, with a short question period for each. Once these presentations are complete, we will transition into an open forum where you are free to raise an issue of your own or revisit an issue that someone has already presented on. After this time, each presenter or task force leader will be made available for a brief meet and greet where you can connect with our present CUSH members, meet others who share your interests, and get involved in the work that we are doing. In the days following this event, those of you who indicate your interest will be contacted to schedule the first meetings of our newly reformed task forces. Understand that though this is completely voluntary, we would like for each of you to do more than volunteer. As organizer, I do not intend to limit the scope of your involvement with CUSH to planting trees or making phone calls or holding up a sign outside of someone's office somewhere, should you choose to join us in advocacy and action. Though, if that is what you wish, that can be the extent of your involvement. Rather, though, it is my goal to explore your passions and talents as organizer and to work with each of you to empower you to become the greatest advocate and activist that you can be that through training and education or by playing to your existing abilities. I ask that during the course of this event, you please take advantage of the note sheet that has been provided to you in your event folder so that you may record your thoughts and questions. And if you didn't get a pencil already, because I forgot to tell people to grab one when they came in, there is a box of them floating around out there, and Karen will help you get one. On the back of your note sheet, you will find a series of questions designed to help you figure out how you can best actualize your faith and values by using your individual talents and passions. Please consider these questions carefully throughout the course of tonight's program. This form also includes a QR code to a feedback form, which we would ask that you please complete at the end of today's program. You may feel free to take your note sheet home with you, along with your other event materials, but if you are not comfortable with public speaking, you may feel free to submit your notes to us by leaving them at the sign-in table when you exit this evening, after the conclusion of today's program. And with that, I would like to introduce our first two speakers, the newly appointed CUSH Vice President, Karen Kempinen, along with a special guest, Craig Sater.
Hi, everybody. My name is Craig Sater. I'm from Beth Hillel Temple, and I studied something called permaculture design from Kibbutz Lotan in Israel. Permaculture is self-sustaining agriculture. We can get more into that in a bit. I just got my master's from UW Parkside in leadership and public service, and I've worked with well-known ecologists, including, if y'all ever saw the Netflix documentary about the guy who built houses out of tires, I did work with him, and he was a character, Michael Reynolds. So first slide, please. So we all know equity is important. We all know trees are important. We all know green space is important. And they all tie together. So I don't need to stand here and tell you guys that trees are important. It's kind of sad that I need to tell you science backs this up. We know that mental health, physical health, all are affected by our green space. So there's a website called treeequityscore.com or .org. I can get you that exact address. And what they've done is they've compiled data. They've looked at neighborhoods, looked at race, ethnicity, income bracket, and then green space or tree canopy. They've combined this to see if a neighborhood is equitable. Does anybody here know a neighborhood that doesn't have a lot of trees? Right, probably a lot, right? Like a lot of them, right? Even my neighborhood near Northside Library, there's areas that are more equitable than others. So we wouldn't think of that. So that means we can talk about heat islands, we can talk about all sorts of things, but there are such things as tree deserts, and I don't know if that is copyrighted term or not, but I do like that term, tree desert, like a food desert. So can we actually go back to that last slide? I apologize. So the tree equity score measures how the critical benefits of urban canopy are reaching those who need them. We're looking at equity because we know that richer neighborhoods have more green space than poorer neighborhoods, and that needs to be fixed. So Tree Equity Score took the information and they've given a measure from 0 to 100. Next slide, please. So clearly 0's lowest, 100's in more need. So they look at income, employment, surface temperature, and these variables right here. Next slide, please. They look at urban area population, tree canopy cover, and all of these things. And next slide, please. So to expand the urban canopy, we have found, this slide tells me how much we actually need to make Kenosha, specifically Kenosha, to have an equitable tree score. We would need 8.5 square miles in urban environments. That's a really important variable because we can look at planting more trees at Parkside, which would be redundant, right? How about looking at areas where we need trees? And 8.5 square miles doesn't seem that unreasonable, but that is what the score is, so we at least have that. The average score in Kenosha is a 75, which means needed work. Next slide, please. So these are the different areas. I am colorblind, so I hope other people can tell the colors better, because it gives you, I don't think the little key is on there, but it shows what areas have a more equitable score. And then is there one more slide? Nope, that is not my slide. But there is one neighborhood that I did identify. My wife will tell you I am terrible at geography, so that's why I have maps and scores. But there is an area in Kenosha, the lowest score I could find was a 37 in Kenosha. So if 100 is equitable, 37 is atrocious. So my proposal here, what I think is important, is to look at that neighborhood, identify it, and other neighborhoods like that, and plant trees. So one thing Grant and I were joking about is the term trees for equity. It's not just planting trees, it's planting trees for equity. Thank you.
And Craig and I were talking about this, and he was saying with the trees, we would want to be looking at, in particular, at native species of trees for many reasons, and I'm going to focus on that, which is as a complement to what Craig has been talking about, that we also, if we do start a new environmental task force with CUSH, that we advocate for regenerating biodiversity. So there's a famous entomologist, ecologist named Douglas Tallamy, and he stated that the World Wildlife Fund says that we've lost 2/3 of our wildlife since 1970. Now, some of us in this room remember a lot of things. There's a thing called the windshield phenomenon. Like, we used to go for a ride. We used to go in my dad's car, and he'd drive us in the country Saturday night, and the windshield was covered with bugs. That doesn't happen anymore because the pesticides have killed so many insects, which are some of the basis of our ecology. But Douglas Tallamy says that we can turn that around by putting the right plants back. We lost those species by taking away the plants that support them, which are native plants. We call it habitat loss, and it is, but it doesn't have to be. We can have productive native plants in our cities. On the edges of our agriculture, there's a thing called pollinator strips that farmers can do so they don't have to hand pollinate crops because we're losing so many native bees. We can have them in our yards, on our roadsides, on our corporate landscapes. There's no reason why we can't be using those plants. And we don't have to wait for politicians to pass the policy. We can do many things in our own yards or on our patios. On our balconies. So I do have a little background for CUSH's history with this issue. So the slide showing now was from a task force that we started it lasted about a year. It was called Homegrown National Park, which is the website of Douglas Tallamy, the entomologist. And the primary accomplishments of the task force were removal of many non-native plants. So you can see, it's kind of hard because it's a collage, but there are a lot of bio bags there of non-native plants that I removed from the grounds of Grace Lutheran Church. So we could make room for 200 plus plants that the students of Harborside Academy grew in their gardens on the roof of their school. And then we also created a brochure to educate the community about the importance of native plants. And there's also a sign there talking about asking people to please stay on the sidewalk, and it was signed the baby native plants and the species that were going to be living with them. So if we start a new environmental task force, these are some actions that we could take. We could educate ourselves by reading Nature's Best Hope, and I already have a syllabus for that book study if people would like to do it. Visit the Homegrown National Park website, which is Douglas Tallamy's website. And Homegrown National Park is the idea that we don't have, even if we used all the national parks that are kind of in danger right now, but even if they weren't, that's still not enough land for us to restore our biodiversity. So we need to think about our own yards. And so that's why this book is called Nature's Best Hope. It's talking about our own yards. And then Homegrown National Park is the title of that idea. We could start a National Wildlife Federation Eco Schools program. I learned about this through my daughter, who has a friend, a colleague in Madison Public Schools, and there are all kinds of eco school programs for all different grade levels. But if you could show the clip, there's a real short part of a YouTube video. It's called Building a Native Healing and Memorial Garden at a high school in Ypsilanti, Michigan. Do you have that clip?
Hi, my name is Anita Singh. I'm here with NWF's Eco Green program, and we are at Ace High School in Ypsilanti, Michigan, taking a tour of their native pollinator and healing garden that they've implemented here.
My name is Lauren Fardig Diop, and I am the Culture and Climate Coach here at Ace High School. A lot of our young people, in fact, most of our young people, have experienced the process of grief very, very close to them. So I would say half to 75% of our kids have lost a caregiver, a parent, a sibling. The process of grief for them is very real and very close to them. And the garden actually really came from students in terms of what they needed to be able to help them process through their griefs.
My name is Patricia Tabb. I go by Miss Patty here at ACE. I am the secretary and I deal with a lot of paperwork and phone calls. So being out in the garden has been the highlight of my year. So this space has been dedicated to the ACE Memorial Garden. We have purchased a plaque to honor this space and to dedicate the people who have lost their lives too soon, and hopefully they can appreciate that for years to come. I couldn't have done this without Eco Green.
Eco Green is a program of Eco Schools USA, which is a national program administered by National Wildlife Federation, and it follows a scientific method framework, a 7-step framework where teachers and students investigate an issue. They do an audit on it and see what's needed to implement some changes in their school campus. There's also some memorial flags that have been installed, and so they'll be mulching around that area as well.
My name is Maya. I'm in 11th grade and I go to ACE High School. The reason I'm at ACE is because I took care of my mom in 9th grade when she had her surgery. I tried going to the main high school. They said,
Thank you. So that's one thing that we can do with a green space in schools. I also have a Google slideshow, Why Native Plants. I keep adding to it, so now I have 41 slides. And it also includes, one of the things that I added is like how you can grow native plants in containers wherever you live. So that's something I could present to different groups, congregations, or any groups. And then other things we could do is improve our yards, gardens, shrink our lawns, plant native plants, especially keystone species, which are the plants that support the highest number of native species. So like goldenrod, oak trees are keystone species. You get the most bang for your buck with those kind. And then we could build collaborative relationships in the larger community, and advocating for more green spaces in low-income neighborhoods, as Craig was addressing, advocating for native landscaping in the Kenosha Innovation neighborhood and other new city and county projects. I know that some of that is happening now, but we could use more. And then I have a friend who's a landlord in Kenosha, and he told me about the Kenosha Landlord Association. We could speak with them and tell them the benefits of planting natives there. I mean, they're less maintenance once they're established, and all kinds of things that would benefit them and their renters. And then I was recently collaborating with the people in Racine, the Racine Interfaith Coalition, and they told me about the Rights of Nature program, which is a wisdom initiative. And the Rights of Nature doctrine states that ecosystems can legally be considered people, which would allow them to defend themselves in court. Under law, this would give ecosystems legal personhood, the right to survive, thrive, and be represented in court by a guardian. Recognizing the legal rights of nature is not a new idea. Many different indigenous populations have recognized the rights of nature for centuries. Indigenous communities' deep relationships with nature helped build social systems that didn't center on humans. They were able to protect their natural resources for centuries by prioritizing them within legal systems. To grow the rights of nature movement, environmentalists should listen to indigenous leaders in law. So in conclusion, I have a little inspiration. There's a photo of my 2024 driveway garden. And there's some of the many pollinators. There are different kinds of wasps, a whole bit different kinds of bees that were visiting my garden last year. And if people want to come visit now, it's a work in progress, and I have more and more natives being added. Thank you.
Do we have, okay, there we go. Great. Let's all give another round of applause for Karen and Craig. Thank you so much. Before we move on to our next issue, our next presentation, I wanted to give a brief question period for anyone who has anything fresh on their mind that they would like to ask of Karen and Craig about this initiative, about their past experience with the CUSH Environment Task Force or the Homegrown National Parks Task Force, or any other questions related to environmental justice.
I just wondered if there's any kind of funding available for purchasing trees or native plants.
I'll take it first. Is that okay, or do you want to go first? Okay. I was talking to someone who's knowledgeable in this, and there's a few avenues, and that would definitely be something we talk about. But one is to talk with the city, figure out budget, because we already are planting trees. So how to figure out what they're already planting, where they're planting it, start there. And then there is organizations that do have funding for this. So that's on my end.
And I have written a grant a couple of years ago for Wild Ones, and I finally joined Wild Ones this last year. And so they also, that's a nationwide organization, but we have the Root River Racine Kenosha Wild Ones chapter that has grants locally for homeowners and other organizations.
And it'll certainly be, I believe it would be a needed focus to look at too, what resources are available and then what more can we get.
Fantastic. Any other questions for Karen and Craig?
When it comes to native species, how granular is the distribution of, well, to be more specific, I come from Lake County, Illinois, so is there a significant difference between native species there and versus here, or are they pretty similar?
My understanding from talking to my friends, who are, many of whom are very progressive, don't understand the importance of native species at all. They just and it's not anything against them, but they kind of are following the same idea that the colonists followed, that when you came here, you plant things for decorations, and you have your lawns, and it's all nice and neat, and you have people polluting the air with blowers instead of sweeping with a broom, get the grass off, and people don't get it. That's my experience in Kenosha. Of course, there are some nature areas in Kenosha County that understand that, but people aren't understanding that none of our native species are going to eat their hydrangeas, you know? So I think there's a lot of education to be done. Does that answer it at all, or?
Well, I was wondering if you were aware of any differences in species.
Oh, the species. I thought
across the state line.
I thought you were talking about the plants, or are you talking about the actual insects and birds and all that too?
Well, native plant species.
You I haven't looked into that, so I don't know about it across state lines. And do you?
I don't believe there is much. I know our zones are pretty similar across the state line. So, I mean, remember, a state line is just a man-made thing in the first place. Here's a fun fact. Did you know that most food products were not native to this area except for Jerusalem artichoke and sunflowers? Yeah. My parents hate that I planted Jerusalem artichoke, and then when they moved, they're mad that they didn't go with them because it's so tasty. But yeah, so most plants are, they do go, like pawpaw is something that grows native around here. We don't have pawpaw. It's not a perfect fruit. It ripens too quick. So I don't think there's too much, but there's probably a slight, and that would be something to look at. But also another point of attention is our zones are shifting as the climate shifts. So our zone in this area actually has already changed from when I was a young boy.
Thank you again to Craig and Karen.
We better get on.
We can save the last of the questions
Just-
to the open comment forum.
I just had a comment about the question that was asked. Maybe the Farmer's Almanac with its growing zones would be a more helpful place to locate what grows where? Native plants and non-native one?
No, the Farmer's Almanac's not real accurate with that, so.
All right, thank you again to Craig and Karen. Can we get another round of applause for these two? And we're now going to welcome our next speaker, Cal Miller.
Poor Grant. His first event, I go rogue on him. Good evening. As Grant said, I'm Cal Robert Miller. My pronouns are he, they, them. I am a CUSH board member, member of Spirit Alive Lutheran Church, and I am the chair of the Rainbow Forward Task Force. I started in this task force 2 years ago at an issues assembly right here at Wesley United Methodist. I had hopes of providing assistance in raising the Municipal Equality Index score, which for 2024, we actually went up from 51 to 64, while Racine dropped from 100 to 81. Reverend Dr. Monica and the Rainbow Forward Task Force started the Stonewall Anniversary event in answer to County Executive Kirkman's decision to rescind the previous county executive's order to fly the pride flag in front of the county courthouse. Rainbow Forward held a book drive while hopes of getting a library of banned books established to offer more resources to the community that the schools and others are removing access to. We started having Transgender Day of Remembrance in November to help our transgender and non-binary siblings a safe space to grieve and process those that we've lost through the year. I can stand here and say how cruel the world has gotten. However, I'm holding my faith above everything and trusting we all already know. However, have you truly witnessed it in your community with your own eyes? Have you truly sat and listened to someone who has tried to reach out to talk to someone who will listen with compassion, love, peace, and allow themselves to be authentically themselves? Everyone's story is different, and everyone in the world of today has rights that are being affected. But until your life is truly on the line, as many minorities are, you truly can't understand what is going on. So I'm standing here with as much confidence as I can that we continue to offer new safe spaces and visibility to our LGBTQIA siblings here in Kenosha. Offer visibility and support to those LGBTQIA siblings that cannot walk outside of their rooms safely. Rainbow Forward will also be assisting with spreading the word of other community members' efforts and providing safe spaces as well. For instance, Pastor Wesley here at Spirit Alive with other Lutheran pastors, has started the Christian Queer Group, which will actually be meeting again in August after Kenosha's Pride in July. I'm also going to hopefully start initiating the library of the banned books, looking for 1 or 2 places to hold, as we have over 200 books to place in these libraries. Thank you.
Thank you again, Cal. Do we have any immediate questions?
I'll just use this. So Cal, when you talk about the banned book libraries, you know, all over town I see these, you know, little neighborhood spots that have the little book nook where people can come and pick up books. Is that something that could be a possibility with some of the banned books?
I would honestly say, if it was before January, yes. I would not want banned books for LGBTQIA and those little libraries, with the possibility of those little libraries being damaged and not being of use to anyone at all.
Other questions?
After I switch classes, yes. So with the Rainbow Forward Task Force and CUSH supporting myself and Reverend Dr. Monica, we started what is called Queer Liberations. It's a Bible study that we are going off of Queer's the Word devotional, which was written by Father Shannon T. Kearns and Brian Murphy. It's a 40-day devotional, but we're doing one a month. So it's going to be, we're going to be going for a while, and then we'll have others that we'll be able to pick up on. It's open to everyone. It's not just to the LGBTQ. It's for everyone, allies, and you get a free book. So it's first Wednesdays of the month at 6 to 7 right here downstairs in Spirit Alive.
All right, let's give another round of applause to Cal, please. Thank you. Thank you, Cal. We are now going to welcome back to the podium Reverend Kathy Gloff.
I've been asked to talk in the second presentation about mental health and the history that CUSH has had with mental health in our community. Many times in the past decade, when we've broached the topic of mental health at meetings such as this one, we've decided that it was indeed an important topic, but we did not pursue the topic with a task force because there were other topics that were more urgent at the time. The last time we had a meeting such as this one, right here a while ago, we did pursue the topic of mental health for a variety of reasons. First, the COVID-19 pandemic had an intense effect on the mental health and well-being of most human beings on the planet, with Kenosha, Wisconsin being no exception. In addition to that, the last 2 community health assessments of Kenosha have shown that mental health and addiction is one of the top 3 most pressing concerns of those who participated in the assessment process. It's a public process. Also, in a Kenosha News article on April 24th, 2023, Frederick South's president and CEO at the time, Rick Schmidt, announced that the Palmer wing of the former Kenosha Hospital would be utilized for mental health and rehabilitation services, providing an inpatient mental health facility. The article went on to say that Frederick South's plan would convert underutilized space in the downtown hospital to inpatient and outpatient mental health services and inpatient rehabilitation services, end quote. At that time, a task force was formed in CUSH to advocate for Frederick South to follow through on their promise to the community. Those who served on that task force had lived experience in advocating for their own loved ones who had used inpatient rehabilitation services at various times in their lives. That task force met with the team from Frederick South that was assigned to make the project happen for the next year and a half. That task force also met with Mayor David Bogdala to seek his input and insight into how to increase the mental health services that are currently lacking in Kenosha. Frederick South announced on July 21st of 2024 that they and Guardian Recovery, a national behavior health care provider, would open a drug and alcohol treatment facility in Kenosha. The facility was set to open this summer of 2025. While a 72-bed facility in the Palmer Building at the Frederick Kenosha Center downtown will be useful in Kenosha, it's not what Frederick South promised to the mental health commitments of our community. In the face of a shortage of medical mental health providers, new ways to address mental health continue to gain traction. The Wisconsin Peer Specialist Employment Initiative, which we abbreviate WIPSE, works with the Wisconsin Department of Health Services, DHS, to be a central point of contact to provide information and assistance to increase the capacity for employment of certified peer specialists, CPSs, and certified parent peer specialists, CPPSs, and provide education and technical assistance to counties, tribal nations, and other agencies. I've thrown a lot of initials at you rapidly. Let me try and break some of that down. Certified peer specialists and certified parent peer specialists work with those who are dealing with mental health issues and substance use issues. They do not provide medical diagnosis, medication, and therapy, but by serving as a peer with lived experience, someone who can listen carefully, provide resources when asked, and help a person to make short-term and long-term plans for their life. Certified peer specialists know that the person seeking assistance is the expert in their own life and their own well-being. That person is never told what to do by a certified peer specialist. Advice may be offered to the one seeking assistance when permission is given. Certified peer specialists can be particularly helpful to veterans, people who are LGBTQIA+, and to others who are at high risk for self-harm and addiction because of their lived experience in horrifyingly adverse situations. I was trained as a certified peer specialist. In addition to increasing services for those living with mental health concerns, increased awareness and common sense behavior can help lessen the stigma of mental health dis-ease. An organization called Mental Health First Aid USA offers a course in being trained in mental health first aid. Much like giving first aid to someone who has had a medical crisis, mental health first aid teaches caring individuals how to assess for risk of suicide or harm, how to listen non-judgmentally, how to give reassurance and information, how to encourage someone to seek appropriate professional help, and how to encourage a person dealing with mental health issues to practice self-care and seek other support strategies. What strides in mental health support and awareness might we make if we advocated for and became involved in these emerging strategies in response to our current critical shortages in mental health care providers? I leave that as an open question for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Pastor Kathy?
So you mentioned that you spoke with the mayor. Did you speak with the county executive or the head of Department of Human Services that would, be delivering those kind of services usually?
We did speak with John Jensen, the head of the Department of Human Services, and he had ongoing interaction with the CEO from Frederick South too. That came to just be a dead end for us as far as getting inpatient mental health in the community. And we did not speak with the county executive because it's a city property, the Palmer unit in the downtown Kenosha Hospital. So they have no business determining what goes in that building.
Other questions?
Veronica has one.
Hi, I was just curious. Forgive me for not Googling this question in advance, but I work in mental health myself in Illinois, and one of the services we offer is walk-in services for therapy. And I've always been kind of curious at why that's so difficult to find in Wisconsin, and I didn't know if you had any further insight on that.
Part of my understanding from working with this issue with CUSH over the years has been, part of it has been a back and forth between the county and the cities. Who's going to take that up? And the changeover in human development on the county level, John Jansen has remained constant. He's been there for a long time. But the people who work under him have changed. It's been a revolving door, if you will, of people to oversee the services for the county. That's part of the issue, but another part of the issue is there's just tremendous shortages all over the place in mental health providers, especially on the traditional medical approach of psychiatrists and psychologists and physicians determining what disease you have and then giving you a medication for it and then giving you a course in therapy about it, the traditional medical approach. The evolving peer support approach is now being used in combination with the medical support, the medical approach, because a lot of independent therapists are finding that they just don't have other therapists to work in their office with them. There's just a tremendous shortage, and peer support specialists are being used as a point of contact between people who are at risk, a point of contact of, let's at least get this person someone who can help them plan, help them prevent, have less harm to themselves, those kinds of things. Does that answer your question? And the county is very grateful to Northern Illinois, actually, Kenosha County, because the state of Illinois changed their laws. We can now transport people who need to be involuntarily placed in inpatient services across the border into Illinois. And the Kenosha County advocated for that change in Illinois law because the place where almost all of our inpatient admissions were going was up to Oshkosh. And that involved people from the police department to escort someone. Psychological emergencies, mental health emergencies usually don't happen in the middle of the afternoon. They usually happen late at night or in the morning. So we're talking lots and lots of overtime. And it was horrible for the families and for the people that were experiencing that trauma. Being in an inpatient facility, if it's not your idea, is a traumatic thing. And it's even more traumatic to ship somebody with a couple of cops 3 hours north of where you are. Your family, how are they going to get there to visit you? You know what I'm talking about. So we're grateful to Northern Illinois because now people can be much geographically closer to the person who needs inpatient services.
I think we had one more.
Veronica had one.
Back in May of this year, I completed that mental health first aid training through Milwaukee Area Technical College as an adjunct instructor. Great. My question is would CUSH be interested in asking the county to cover the cost of the training and having it done for CUSH volunteers that are interested in the mental health
I would love
training?
to say yes, but that would be dipping into the same bucket twice. And I don't know that the county is going to do that, because part of what I did not say in my comments was when I was trained, I talked about being trained as a certified peer specialist. I was also trained in 2019 to be a instructor of mental health first aid.
Okay.
As were about, I think there were 14 or 15 of us in Kenosha County, and Kenosha County paid for that. But then COVID happened. How many times have we said, then COVID happened? So I don't know how many of those trainers are still in the area. I am no longer certified to do that because of COVID, the course is no longer in person. It's now a hybrid of in-person and virtual. Yeah. And that requires the trainers to be retrained to do that. And I have not, because of other things going on in my life, I never pursued being retrained to instruct in that context.
You know, or either Gateway or Parkside might be an option too, because I literally got this training through a technical college, so it's worth pursuing. I have the contact information for the trainer that provided this training for us.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that can be the start of a conversation.
Big thanks again to Pastor Kathy.
Yep.
We're now going to welcome our final two speakers, Reverend Erica Jordan and Sandy Milligan.
Okay, immigration is probably our longest serving task force. We started Immigration Task Force, I want to say in like 2005, so we might be looking at 20 years doing this. It's been a question for us all for a very long time. And so we all have had the belief that the undocumented deserve to be treated as human beings and have all the rights that we have. And fortunately now we have all the religious leaders of, or most of the denominations, standing up for that fact, which is good. Unfortunately, we know we have some things that aren't going so well with that. Just give you a brief history of what the task force has done and tried to do. We've always been advocates for legislation, and that has changed many times. Sometimes there would be small things that we wanted to see legislation on. Right now, there's some things going on that Harriet could tell us about if we wanted to know what's going on now. But a lot of times we're up against a wall here because legislation in Wisconsin can be a challenge. We've, through the past, done a number of educational presentations. We feel that most people really don't know what it means to be undocumented. They don't know how much these immigrants provide to our communities. There's so much misinformation. They don't pay taxes, they take all our money, all these things. And our presentations were able to come through and tell a lot about this to educate people. So if somebody comes up to you and says something negative about an immigrant or they don't pay taxes, if you're educated, you could say, yes, they do. They own properties, they work and they pay taxes on their job, et cetera. We've also had a number of rallies and different protests. Some of them have been small, and some of them have been very, very large. You know, we've held rallies out at the detention center when we still housed undocumented people out there that were very well presented. The rallies that we've done, one of the more was when there was an issue of separation of children from their parents. And that was a real huge issue. And that was a really cold day when we were out in Civic Center Park for that one. But our biggest long-term project, and if you understand how we work on issues, we cut an issue, and the issue is supposed to be very precise, it's supposed to be winnable, and we have been working on this one same issue for close to 15 years, and it still has not got anywhere, and that's driver's license for undocumented people. The problem is they need to get to work, they need to get their kids places, and they don't have the ability to drive legally. Not with our current sheriff, but with the one before him, he was very much a proponent of this and working with other sheriff's departments to try and see that if he could sway people in that. It still hasn't worked. It's still on our agenda right now, and we know it's probably not going to go anywhere for a while. But one win that we have had, and they always talk about issues as being wins, and that's something is one of your goals, is we have a lot of undocumented people who will get stopped and ticketed because they don't have a license. And Marlene, who's on our task force, had worked with the city, and they developed a program where if the people took a class, and it had to do with, and I can't explain it as well as Marlene can, but it had to do with them understanding why they couldn't be driving, giving them other options instead of driving themselves, and then their tickets were held back. That was a good program. But again, when government things change, sometimes the next people aren't supportive of that. And that's the case where we are right now. But that went on for how many years, Marlene? 5 or so? 7, 8? Okay, so it was a really good program. And that's what we found with our task forces. That was something that Marlene worked on, and she took charge in that. You know, so sometimes being part of this task force is a situation where I can't do this, but she could do that. And that really worked out for them. We work real heavily with Wisdom and the other Wisdom affiliates on immigration. We have found through all of our task forces and all of our work in Wisdoms that we learn a lot from the other affiliates. And sometimes they'll do a project, and we did a fair trade project one time for something I don't remember, and it was totally taken from another affiliate's work. And we consider it an honor if somebody wants to use our work, and they did too. So that's good. So now we get to today, and we know that everybody knows what's going on with immigration right now. It's a very sad, sad situation. And what we're working with on Wisdom are Kenosha's working on 2 things. One is a Know Your Rights campaign for individuals, and the other is a Know Your Rights campaign for employers. And there's all kinds of materials designed that tell people what to do if somebody comes knocking at their door, and tells them what their rights are and tells them how to react with that. And so our newer venture is trying to get so that employers, we have a few employers in town that have a lot of undocumented people working with them. And we're trying to work with them and see if we can help them. Unfortunately, we're seeing that a lot of the people that are taken into custody, it isn't at their homes, it's out on the streets. So some of the know your rights stuff becomes a little more challenging then. And we are a group right now of 4 people, and we don't have a chair. We kind of do it together. We're all very passionate, but we would like some more people to join us and try and decide some other ways that we can come up against this brick wall that we're doing right now. Erica's going to come up and tell you about another program that's very active right now, and we'll see how that goes.
Grant, I wasn't expecting a promotion to Reverend tonight. Thank you. I'm a Dominican sister of Sinsinawa. My name is Erica Jordan. I'm happy to be Erica in this group. Excuse me. So I've been part of the Immigration Task Force since 2015. And 2 years ago, we learned about a Department of Justice program that allows non-lawyers to offer legal, low-cost services to underprivileged clients through a not-for-profit agency that has been recognized by the Department of Justice. So 2 of us, Marlene and I, volunteered to participate in the training and to seek accreditation. And we were very lucky to be sponsored by a grant program that was called Wisconsin Capacity Building Initiative. It's coming to an end now, but for 2 years they have been offering us training at no cost. So the first thing we did was take a course in comprehensive overview of immigration law, a very challenging course, and then many online webinars and seminars over a year and a half period. And all of this was through a group called Clinic, which stands for Catholic Legal Immigration Network Incorporated, which is a nationally recognized immigration law services organization. So after passing the final exam, we sought accreditation through the Racine Interfaith Coalition, and we opened the Kenosha Extension Office last December 2024. Right. We chose to collaborate with RIC because they were already a recognized organization and provider of legal services. They had a program director in place, and it saved us the cost of becoming a recognized organization on our own. And we also have the benefit of having colleagues who practice in Racine with whom we can collaborate. Our office is located in the ELCA Outreach Center, and we see our clients by appointment only. We decided not to have a walk-in kind of a service because by appointment, it allows us to be better prepared for the people who are coming and to know what services they are looking for. So here are some of the types of cases that we have been working on for the last 6 months. Applications for work authorization, green card renewals, working with victims of domestic violence who are seeking status in the U.S., applications for United States citizenship, family-based immigration, and status for victims of serious crimes. Since the 2 of us are partially accredited rather than fully accredited, we do not represent clients in the immigration court. For example, we aren't able to represent people seeking asylum because their cases are heard in the immigration court in Chicago. However, we're able to offer such clients a list of trusted attorneys that we know will not take advantage of them. And here are some ways that you or your congregation might help us. If you know undocumented people, refer them to us. Marlene and I are volunteers. All of the service providers are volunteers. So we have a $50 fee for those who can pay it. And if they can't, they don't have to pay. However, many of our clients who make applications still have to pay the government, the U.S. Citizen and Immigration Service, for their application fee. And those fees can range from $100 to like $1,500 and sometimes more, depending on what they are applying for. So if you or your congregation would like to help our clients pay those fees, we would be delighted to receive any help you might offer for that. And then a third thing would be to sponsor educational opportunities in your congregation so people can be up to date about what's happening with immigration in the current situation that is so challenging. You're aware of how fearful people are. We've even seen a lessening of calls because people would have to come out to see us in our office. But we try to have a calm and non-threatening environment for people who want to talk with us about what we might be able to help them with. So, if you have any questions.
Going twice.
Just to echo what Sandy had said about working with other affiliates in Wisdom, the statewide organization, every other year, Wisdom has something called Madison Action Day. It's the year when Wisconsin does its budget, because Wisconsin does its budget every odd-numbered year for a 2-year cycle. And we always have 4 asks that we ask of our legislators. And one of the 4 asks this year, which probably is not going to happen, was driver's cards. So we're continuing to work on that, and we're continuing to try and form alliances with other organizations throughout the state. For instance, the dairy industry is 70% undocumented persons in Wisconsin. So we're working with them as well.
Could I make a point of personal privilege here? I just have to say how heartbreaking it was for me when Kathy was reading the list of member organizations of CUSH, that there were no Catholic churches mentioned, and previously there would have been. So my hope is that next year, when that list is read, that we will be back with CUSH. Thanks.
We would love that. Thank you.
I want to point out that we do have 3 flyers. We have 3 flyers on the front desk, the front table when you walk in, that we invite you to put in your folder and take home. One is about the Assembly Bill, Senate Bill 2457, and that was introduced in February. It's a really bad bill that we need to oppose, and this gives you all the information about it. There's also a sheet on Trump's registration requirement for immigrants, which kind of puts immigrants in between a rock and a hard place, because if you go to register like they're saying you have to, you will probably be arrested. If you don't register, then they find you on the street that puts you on the fast track to deportation. Plus, there's huge fines and jail sentences involved with this. And another sheet on what is due process, because that's been in the news a lot about how people are being prevented from due process, which is the cornerstone of American law and the Constitution. So these are 3 sheets that just kind of tell you the down and dirty, and I invite you to come and get them as you leave.
Thank you, Harriet. Let's give all of our speakers another round of applause, please. We're now going to move at this time into the open forum segment of our program. If you have an issue that you'd like to bring forward, this is your time. This is also the time to insert any comments or questions you may have regarding issues that have already been spoken about, but that did not occur to you during the question period for each of those presentations. You may raise any issue you like, provided that it adheres to our values of social justice and diversity. We encourage you to be courageous in this moment. You do not need to be an expert on your issue. If there is something happening in our world that makes you concerned for your fellow human beings, we welcome you to bring this to our attention, regardless of your prior knowledge. We encourage you to be candid, as the most useful ideas and novel insights often come from an innocent place of genuine concern. If, instead, you do not have a new issue, but you would like to offer your further thoughts and feedback on the issues and initiatives which were already presented on, we would love to hear from you as well. If you have something you'd like to say, you may now raise your hand to be called on, and we will lend you a microphone. Do we have any takers? Harriet, thank you.
Recruit. That got real loud. It's okay. We work alongside Kenosha County to help recruit foster families, and we are ourselves foster moms here in Kenosha County. Every child deserves a safe and loving home, a place where they feel valued, supported, and cared for. Currently, there are children in our community whose safety depends on foster care, yet there aren't enough foster families to meet their needs. This shortage leaves many children stranded, vulnerable, and without a chance to heal and grow in a healthy, stable environment. On any given day here in Kenosha County, there are around 200 children in out-of-home care, and we are currently 50 families short of what we need to sustain the number of children coming into care. They're sleeping in offices, they're sleeping in shelters that when we first started, well, her long before me, but we weren't even utilizing shelters, and now they're packed to the brims. Children who are in sibling sets aren't just being split between different homes, they're being split in different counties, not just losing their parents, but losing everything. We're asking CUSH to consider adding foster care recruitment and support to its portfolio of social justice initiatives. CUSH's strong network of faith-based leaders, community advocates, and passionate volunteers make a profound and life-changing difference in helping identify, recruit, and prepare foster families within their congregation and the community at large. We ask that you consider helping us find families to stand in the gap, not just for these vulnerable children, but for their vulnerable families. We believe that families are made for a reason, and we hope that we can, as foster moms, get these kids home with their moms and their dads. Proposed action plan: awareness and education to provide information to the congregation members about foster care process, the children's needs, and many ways individuals can contribute. Include foster care stories and facts in your congregation's newsletter, email blast, and social media platform. Mention foster care at meetings and services or to your community groups. Invite foster care advocates like Jen and myself to speak to your community groups. And consider placing yard signs or even banners at your church or community center to raise visibility. Recruitment: encourage families to consider opening their homes to foster children or provide support for foster families. And then committing to ongoing action. This is not a one-time event. We ask CUSH to make foster care a sustained priority by continuing these efforts over time. Together, we can make a significant, measurable, and compassionate change in the lives of children in need. For me, that's Gideon and Noah, Junior Lamar, Delilah, Trinity, Samaya, Michaela, Brooklyn, Braden, baby Anna, Aiden and Angelo, another Aiden and Remy, Sebastian, Andy, Hattie, Jude, Braden, and another Aiden. To me, they're not just names on a list, they're children who have come through my home. Some of them for a few days and call me mommy, some of them for a few years, and now 5 of them will call me mommy forever. We look forward to exploring this opportunity further with CUSH and appreciate your consideration and adding foster care to your ongoing justice work. Thank you.
Please do make sure that you both see me at the sign-in table before you exit the event during the meet and greet period. And anyone else who's interested by the foster care initiative should also see me at that table as well and mention that fact. Do we have any other issues that others would like to raise? Yes.
Hi, my name's John. I'm here with my wife Leah and Dick Coffin, one of our initial board members. I want to talk just briefly about the need for more services for the disabled. And what we've been trying to develop is what's called a LARCH community. LARCH is a French word for the Ark. And it began in the early 60s with one man bringing 2 men from a local asylum in France to live with him. And the models kind of continued. We're trying to develop that in Kenosha with the idea that people living with each other, where you'd have core members, people with severe disabilities living with non-disabled people, but living to kind of transform each other. The model is to be with each other, not treat for each other. The ranks of the disabled are one minority group we can join at any moment. And I think it's sadly, there's so much intersection of things tonight. This is a real brief commercial. I went to a book study that Karen did on the Homegrown National Park. And that lit a fire under me because I was someone that was totally ignorant about this issue. But it was able to, with our church, we brought our disabled son, who's a non-speaking adult on the autism spectrum, to help cultivate the garden. And the intersection of issues around native plants and then his issue of being marginalized kind of worked together to kind of bring meaning to his life. We're in the early stages of trying to develop the LARCH community. We're trying to become a nonprofit. We're forming an initial board. We're having meetings, and our model is to try to live the life of LARCH. So we've had a fundraiser. We're called LARCH Mosaic, with a symbolic meaning that broken pieces come together and are transformed into something meaningful, creative, and better. And so we meet every month. People are welcome to ask me more about becoming involved. We really welcome people to bring disabled people, especially people with severe disabilities, into that life with us. Since I'm kind of speaking off the top, I'm sure there's so much I'm leaving out, but I wanted to invite if Leah or Dick's been a part of this for several months now. Any comments either one of you want to make? Dick?
I guess I do. I have been impressed being part of this community with the notion that we are all in this together as equals, and it's a wonderful spirit.
Just the last thing I'll say, we're trying to eventually develop housing. Right now we're just kind of living and kind of being a community together, doing different projects together, just to kind of model that. But we're hoping to get housing and to do fundraising and to develop, a real rich community I think Kenosha needs desperately.
Thank you. Anyone interested in forming the large community, Mosaic community, should also visit me by the sign-in table before leaving today. I think we have time to raise at least one more issue in brief. Does anyone else have anything they would like to bring forward? Nobody? Anything at all. This is your best chance. There's something that you're concerned about to get it out there into the community. If you have something that you do not want to speak publicly about, I will remind everyone that you are able to write about it on your notes sheet and also submit that to me by the door before you leave today. We're now going to conclude the open forum segment of this evening's program and move into the meet and greet. I will now ask at this time that anyone serving as a task force representative, if you spoke today, that you please exit through the side door over there and go to your position at the tables by the door. Thank you. Before the rest of you rise, I'd like to thank you all again for joining us here today to learn about our organization and the issues our members are most passionate about, and for sharing your thoughts and the things that you are most passionate about. Our main ask of you, as friends, neighbors, and members of our community, is that you choose to join us and become involved in enacting our mission of advocacy, education, and empowerment by taking action as a member of one of our issues task forces. If you've heard about an issue you are interested in this evening, and you would like to become involved in addressing this issue together, please stick around and introduce yourself to one of our current task force members in the atrium by the door. Feel free to chat, meet others who share your interests, and leave your information so that we can get in contact with you. If you have raised an issue that was not presented on this evening during our open forum, or if you are interested in working on an issue that was not presented on this evening but was raised in open forum, please see me before departing. I will be happy to take your information and get you started on the process of joining a brand new CUSH task force. Please make sure that you talk to our people and leave your information tonight. There's a sign-in sheet in front of each of those stations out there. If you are interested in any of these task forces, please leave your information on there. This will ensure that we can get you fully engaged in our newly reformed task forces. The first task force meetings after tonight will begin to concretize our future plans for each task force, and we want you to be there to help guide our efforts, exercise your abilities, grow your skills and knowledge, and live your faith and values through actions of advocacy, education, and empowerment. Last but not least, more than anything, we want for each of you to join us in doing the work necessary to help move our community closer towards justice here in Kenosha. However, we understand that due to a myriad of reasons, not all of you will be able to commit to serving on a task force or participating as a volunteer. If you are unable to join us in this way, we ask that you please consider supporting CUSH with a one-time or sustaining gift. CUSH is completely powered by individual donors at this time, and we rely on the support of passionate community members such as yourself to continue our work and empower our impact. If you'd like to give, please do so in person or online by completing the donation form included in your folder, which you may leave on the designated inbox on the sign-in table before leaving, or by submitting a one-time cash donation to me or our treasurer. I think she's actually left now at this point. So to me, in the meet and greet area. You may also donate online via the QR code located on the donation form or by visiting our website at www.cushkenosha.com. Thank you all again for joining us to live our values in pursuit of justice, advocacy, and education. Thank you.